Okay, this is police reports that I have from around 2020 to 2021. These are all the times that Reading Police Department and Anderson Police Department were either called to my house or called to my ex-wife's, Kendra Snyder's house, regarding my kids and the police officers who were involved. Now, this isn't all the police reports that are involved in this case, and not all the police reports that regarding my kids in the past 7 years. A lot of those police reports have been difficult for me to get from the Reading Police Department as well as the Anderson Police Department. And last year, when I got home um, in 2022, I went to Anderson Police Department to request police reports because I heard that my kids, heard that my son Jace had ran away from school and ran away from my ex-wife's house, and my son Jackson had ran away from her house because they're getting abused over there. And I asked Anderson Police Department for police reports, and they told me basically that I didn't have a court order, or I didn't have current custody orders of my kids, so they couldn't give me any police reports about my kids. And they gave me some police reports that were redacted. And basically, redacted means that they take out all this information that that has to do with my kids. And so the police reports that I had were all blacked out, and none of the information that I needed for investigation wasn't able to read it. So here we go. This is just some of the police reports that I got from 2020. Okay, this is November 2020, and it will tell you most of the time these are the police officers that were involved, and it'll say Anderson Police Department up top here. Okay, so this is Officer Steele, badge number 303, Officer Belden 283, and they were contacted by my ex-wife. This is a call from her. It says she wants a welfare check on my children. It says due to husband having drug abuse at location. Okay, this is basically just her narrative calling the police on me, and this is constant harassment. Okay, this is another police officer here that was dispatched. His name's Officer Spurgeon. And basically the police officer said they made contact with me, conducted probation search of my person and living area, and did not find anything that raised concern of drug abuse. Then it says mother also advised that I checked in probation regularly, visits, and does drug tests regularly. And then I told the police officers basically that I was getting harassed on my phone, and that her and her new husband, Jason Lord, were harassing me constantly on my phone, and put spyware app services on my phone. And that's why she was calling the police on me to harass me. And it says right here that the conversation with me, people following him through his phone, and was worried and paranoid. I wasn't paranoid. I was pissed because I was constantly getting harassed by her and her boyfriend on my phone. And it says nothing raised concern for children's safety at the time, and contacted her and let her know, and provided the information with children. Okay, so this is how many times that they were basically dispatched or talking about this. And these are the police officers that were involved. Okay, this is really important because this kind of builds a timeline of what was happening as well as it shows that even in 2020, that my ex-wife and her boyfriend were harassing me constantly, calling the police on me, making up stories about me, lying about me, and harassing me with my kids. So at this point, I'm at home with my kids, and my kids are playing video games, hanging out at my house, and the cops show up and pull us out of the house, search the house, talk to me, talk to my kids, basically, have me out front of the house, searching me, and my kids are right there. It's traumatizing to my kids, and it's emotional abuse is what it is. And I know that the police officers are just doing their job, but they don't understand the impact or the effect that that has on my children, as well as the fact that my children are aware and know that their mom is doing this to their dad constantly to try to get custody of them, or to try to have me arrested, which I have been arrested multiple times and thrown in jail, as well as their opinion, I guess, or their lives and their experiences that they've had in the past 7 years in Shasta County with local law enforcement and their mom. So that's really significant in this case, because that is emotional abuse and trauma, and traumatizing my kids every time that she tries to get me in trouble or call the police. Okay. Now this is really important in this case. This is an incident report, stalking incident log, and I believe that this is made up from One Safe Place. And this shows dates and times that Reading Police Department were called to her house, or by my ex-wife, and the police report numbers and the police officers that were called. Okay, and I'll go through it in a kind of like in the timeline. This is October 5th, and she's saying that I'm sending threatening text messages and violent things, and that's the police report number, and those are the two police officers involved, Townsley, Officer Townsley and Wesley from Reading Police Department. Okay. This is October 7th. The same thing, says came to my parents' house, tried to take our kids. This is the police report number, and that's the officer Peggy Porter. Okay. Now this is the 11th of October 2016. Calling parents and threatening again. Police report number, officers involved, Townsley and Wesley. Okay. And then the 12th of October, same thing, harassing emails. Police report number and officers involved, Adams and Dean. Okay. There's another police officer that was involved that's not on this list. His name is Officer Provencio from Reading Police Department, and he was recently, the Reading Police Department was sued for sexual assault and sexual harassment and sexual abuse, because of Officer Provencio was pulling women over and sexually harassing them, and inappropriate conduct. So let's look at these dates. So on the 5th of October, I filed for divorce and custody orders of my kids online. And my ex-wife noticed that because we have a shared bank account, and she got an alert on her phone for the amount of money that I paid for divorce paperwork. Okay. On October 7th, she called me up here to bring her some money and clothes and toys for the kids. Officer Peggy Porter showed up, and we had a long discussion. We talked for hours in front of her mom's house off of Lake Boulevard in Reading. And basically, at this point, my ex-wife has left Sacramento County with my kids without custody orders. and has my 3 kids and won't let me talk to them and won't let me see them. In California law, both parents have equal rights to their children until there's a custody order or custody agreement or court order. And at this moment, there's no court order or no custody paperwork. So I was trying to take my kids back to Sacramento because they'd been missing school, and they were with their mom, and their mom has a mental illness, and she wouldn't let me talk to my kids. So at this date, on October 7th, Officer Porter showed up at her mom's house and basically was going to arrest my ex-wife for abduction and kidnapping my kids and taking them from Sacramento. And she asked me if I wanted her to be arrested. And I told her basically no, just tell her that she needs to come back to Sacramento with the kids, and and we'll talk about it tomorrow. So Officer Porter told her the next day that she needed to pack up and bring the kids back to Sacramento and file for custody orders, as well as Officer Porter told me to file custody in Sacramento as well. And Officer Porter gave me a piece of advice. She said to buy my son a phone, and that if I bought my son a phone, my oldest son, that I could give it to him and he could call me and talk to me anytime he wanted to, and that if his mom tried to take the phone away from him, that was false imprisonment and she could be arrested. Okay? So at this time, from October 5th, 2016, when she had left Sacramento, that is parental abduction, and she has my kids out of Sacramento County without custody orders. Okay? That is kidnapping. And these police officers basically have this on this incident report and police reports with these police report numbers, and these officers here, they were in contact with my ex-wife on these dates, the 11th and the 12th, and made contact with her and were aware that my kids were taken from Sacramento County. Were aware that Officer Porter told Kendra to go back to Sacramento, and were aware of the abduction laws, as well as the fact that I was in the process of filing custody orders. It says Officer Peggy Porter witnessed to the first interaction with RPD and my ex-wife Kendra abduction of our children, and that was on October 7th. So this is the release of information. This case number right here is the exact same case number. I requested that in August 2021. Okay, and you could look right here, the case number 72511, 72511. I requested a bunch of police reports from Reading Police Department so that I could provide them to the Shasta County Superior Court in our family law case to get custody of my kids, emergency custody orders. This is January 2020. Okay, this is the beginning of the year, and this is Anderson Police Department, and this is a call from me at my house. Okay, and dispatched, and these are the police officers: Toft, Green, and I believe there was another one. And it says landline at mother's residence says ex-wife will not let the juveniles call the police if they need to. And it says male advised he has custody of juveniles, and at this point I had we had split custody of all 3 kids, and so this on the weekends doesn't make sense. And it says that male was advised to contact at the time of exchange does not happen. So I contacted the police because exchange didn't happen. Contacted ex-wife, who stated she received text messages from my mom saying that I was hallucinating and making statements about police coming to my house or having me arrested for murder or something like that, and that my mom was telling her not to hold on to the kids and keep them from me. She does not think it's safe for the male to have the kids. This is my mom, and my mom actually talked to these police officers this night, and she said that she never talked to Kendra. That was a lie, and basically that was all made up, and that she was she was basically making excuses on the reason why she didn't let the kids call me and call the police, and why she didn't do the exchange. So this is just more slanderous stories to the police officers, harassment, and um, discrimination. I guess discrimination against me, as well as just her avoiding accountability. Okay, again on January 3rd, this is the Reading Police Department. Okay, this is probably the same day. These are the police officers that were dispatched, Hendricks, and to her house, Booth. And it says, mother refusing to do custody exchange, which is in violation of custody orders. Okay, and this is the redacted version. This is what I was talking about. Is what happens is all this information gets blacked out, and then I can't get access to this police report or this information to help me in my family law case or help me in an investigation. And this is released to my ex-wife, and she actually is the one that gave me copies of this anyways. So they were called to her house for not allowing the kids to call me. And it says this is kind of a same police report and same people. And it says that she, that lived off her appointment, welfare check on juveniles, has not been allowing juveniles to speak with me, with their dad. And basically she was keeping my kids from using the phone and keeping my kids from using calling the police and calling me and asking for help. And this is on January 3rd of 2020, okay? Again, this is January 6th. This is a few days after this. Officer Cleveland reporting juvenile mother and boyfriend were in a 415 last night. 415 is domestic violence situation, and prevented juveniles from calling 911. Mother's boyfriend also broke juvenile's school Chromebook. Her boyfriend broke my son's Chromebook, and juvenile is at her residence. Okay. And then it says here, reporting juvenile's mother and boyfriend were in 415 and prevented juveniles from calling 911. And mothers also broke juvenile Chromebook. Same incident report talking about the same thing, exact thing. And then this says here, Officer Fitzsimmons. Okay, this is really important in this case. Officer Fitzsimmons calling about the Chromebook was broken, also wants to file a restraining order. So my son, my oldest son, was living with them and was getting abused, emotionally abused and physically abused, and locked in the bedroom, and wasn't allowed to use the phone or call me or call 911. And he tried to get out the window to get to a neighbor's house to call 911. And her boyfriend basically grabbed him out of the window, or grabbed him out front and dragged him back into the house. And so these police officers were called to her house regarding that incident. My son was 11 at the time. It says right here, stated that male broke his Chromebook, is also inquiring about obtaining a restraining order. This is my son asking for a restraining order against her boyfriend and saying that he's the one that broke her Chromebook, okay? And Officer Stewart, okay? Officer Fitzsimmons And the reason why this is very important, Officer Fitzsimmons, badge number 135 for the Reading Police Department, showed up at my house February 3rd with another police officer from Reading Police Department named Officer Murphy. Officer Murphy and Fitzsimmons showed up at my house in Anderson, California, okay, in Anderson, and served me a restraining order against me that my wife and her boyfriend filed that day. Served me a copy of that restraining order while my ex-wife was sitting out front of my house. Fitzsimmons and Murphy showed up and basically served me this restraining order and said that they were taking my son away from me. And they were taking my oldest son. My oldest son was 14 and a half, and he had lived with me for the past couple years and was scared to death of his mom and scared of her boyfriend and scared of getting abducted again. And he had his own phone and basically walked out of my house and said, "Dad, I love you, and I have my phone on me, and I'm gonna go find my brother and sister, and I'll call you back." Okay, and in February, that was 6 months after she was granted temporary custody of my two youngest kids, and me and my oldest son hadn't seen or heard from them in 6 months. And this Officer Fitzsimmons and Officer Murphy showed up at my house and took my oldest son away, and I haven't seen or heard from him since. Now that was in February of 2002, and I have no idea where my kids are at. I have no idea where my oldest son is at. And that Officer Fitzsimmons showed up at my house and served me restraining order. So this is November 2020. I believe this is just the yeah, it's the same one. Okay, this is where it kind of starts getting interesting. Now, this is March 1st, 2022. Okay, Anderson Police Department. And it's dispatched Officer Foster. And this is to the school, my son's school in Anderson, okay? After February, when my son was taken from me and he had his own phone and he couldn't call me, he went to school and he tried to ditch school and get away from school. We live about a half a mile away from the school, and tried to get to my house. And he couldn't get to my house. Somebody stopped him and threw him in a car and took off with him. And I believe the police department was notified. So this is just the call that they were dispatched to the Anderson Middle School, because I was sitting out front of the Anderson Middle School with proof online that the restraining order against me was dismissed, and I wanted to pick up my son because that case was dismissed in Shasta County Superior Court. It says father of student is at location causing 415. It's domestic disturbance. And basically I was at his school trying to pick him up and trying to show the school that the restraining order case was dismissed against me, okay? So these officers right here, Officer Knight, Foster, and Officer Isabel were the ones that were there and arrested me. And they arrested me in front of the school while I was showing them online that the case against me was dismissed. And it says detained subject, which would have been me, and searched my vehicle and towed my Yukon. And then this is the officer, Detective Halligan, who I talked to at the Anderson Police Department. And basically I told him what had happened, and I told him that the case was dismissed against me. And he basically arrested me and booked me in Shasta County Jail. And he told me that he didn't really know what I was being arrested for yet, and that he was going to book me in Shasta County Jail and they would figure it out. That was his exact words at the moment. This is February 28th, 2022. These police officers here It says that I called the police department, Anderson Police Department, and said that says has not seen his juveniles for over a month. I haven't at this point. I haven't seen my oldest son for a month, and hadn't talked to him or seen him. And he had his own phone. 14 and a half, and he has his own cell phone, and left my house and never called me back. And I hadn't seen my two youngest kids in over 6 months. I hadn't talked to them or heard from them. And the last time I heard from my son Jackson, he was crying on the phone, begging to talk to me and call me. And his mom took the phone from him and hung up. So this is a report taken by these police officers, and it says recent calls have been a civil issue with the courthouse. Okay, this is kind of the issue with the recorded phone calls, and that's why I started recording phone calls with the police department as well as the district attorney's office, is because they always say it's a civil issue with the courthouse, and there's a current court order, and that I need to file paperwork in the courthouse. And this is a custody issue or a custody dispute. This is not a custody dispute, and I'll tell you the reason why. In the law, the law is Penal Code 278.5, and it's abduction, and it's deprivation of children from a custodial parent or parental abduction. And the moment that you take kids away from their family members and you won't let them call their family, any family, okay, or the police department, that is abduction, that's kidnapping, and that is false imprisonment, and obviously emotional abuse and physical abuse. And so this officer here saying this is a civil issue with the courthouse, and the fact that she had a court order, that is irrelevant to why I'm calling them and irrelevant to what is happening to my kids. And there may be a court order. She might have a court order or a custody order. And at this point, a restraining order against me. That is irrelevant. The fact is that my oldest son had his own phone and couldn't call me anymore. And my two youngest kids couldn't use the phone or computer or PS4 or anything to contact any of my family members or me, So even if there's a restraining order against me, my kids should still be able to call my other family and let them know they're okay or alive. And this is not a civil issue. This is a criminal issue, and this is a violation of the law. Same thing. This is 2 days prior to that, February 26th. Same police officers calling, has not seen his juveniles for over a month. Says filed from a report filed earlier. Says case number of that report taken. Appears all recent calls have been civil issue with court. Okay, and this is the same excuse that keeps happening, as well as Reading Police Department. And they're saying that basically that my kids, being missing and can't use the phone and can't call 911 at her house is a court issue. That's not the case. This is February 15th. Police officers that were involved. Okay, same thing. Mother of the juveniles that attend has restraining order against me. Listed subject, and he keeps contacting the school as well as the district office, harassing them. Require report. Says subject in Anderson and Reading. Ongoing issues. Okay. Statement made to school did not violate restraining order. Was calling in regards to child safety. Info provided to school. I was calling Anderson Middle School because my son went to Anderson Middle School, and I was calling to see if he was okay, if he was safe, if he had talked to a principal or a teacher or counselor about what happened to him. And I was calling the school district superintendent, which his name was Kevin Cry at the time, asking him if they had information about my kids, as well as the Reading School District, asking them about my kids, and because I hadn't seen them in 6 months or heard from them. Okay, this is on January 28th, 2022. This is right before I was served a restraining order against me. Okay, so I still had full custody of my oldest son at this moment in time, and she has like a temporary custody order of my two youngest kids at this moment. Okay, called Anderson Police Department requesting missing children. Basically, that I hadn't seen or heard from my two youngest kids in 6 months. States juveniles are with mother. Says contacted. He only wished to have his info logged and wanted APD to be aware that his son is with his mom and did not request any further action to be taken. This date is pivotal in this case and very crucial to this investigation into what happened to my kids. My oldest son had a court order to do visitation with his mom 4 hours a week on Friday. He didn't want to do it. He asked if he could talk to the court. He had a restraining order against her boyfriend and didn't want anything to do with her boyfriend or his mom, and was forced to go to visitation with her. And they started going to therapy at Shasta Options, for whatever reason. Okay, and a few Fridays she missed and she didn't pick him up, especially after she took my two youngest kids and we didn't hear from them or see them. And on this day, he went to visitation with his mother, and she told him that if he went to therapy with her and spent time with her on Friday, that she would let him see his brother and sister. I swear to God, that's exactly what she said. And my son told me on the phone, he said, Mom said that I can see my brother and sister if I go to therapy with her. On this date, my son went to her house, seen his brother and sister for the first time in months, and locked himself in the bedroom and called 911, and basically was sitting in there waiting for Reading Police Department to show up. And her boyfriend left for a time, for 4 hours or so, and my son was sitting there waiting for Reading Police Department to show up. Okay, on this date exactly. And her boyfriend came back, basically flipped out on him, started yelling at him, threatening him, saying he was going to kill her and kill him and his brother and sister, and he was going to shoot him. And my son was telling him that he was going to go to jail for abusing his brother and sister. And her boyfriend basically said that he was going to kill all of them and that he wouldn't go to jail, that he would rather kill his mom and his siblings first. And my son was on the phone with 911, and he called me at about 11 o'clock at night crying, basically saying that